Hello, everybody. This is Sue Frederick, and we are doing our Numerology Patreon group in December of 2024. So let's all close our eyes and take 3 deep breaths. We inhale, and again, and again. And each breath lifts us into the higher frequency of healing, compassion, wisdom, understanding, so that any fear or doubt or worries that our human self carries tonight is dissipated in this beautiful group, this understanding that we are all here on purpose, that we've come with a reason, a mission, and that every single year of our lives has had a personal vibration to it, a personal year number to it that gives us the way through that year. And so, with the knowledge that numbers serve our highest good, we are grateful for this gathering tonight and for the inspiration of divine spirits. And so it is. So, I want to start with, before we do question and answer, because that is always the fun part there. I just want to do a quick little run through of the personal years and why they are helpful and why they're important to understand. So, we all know in numerology that we all have a soul mission according to the day we were born, and that is incredibly helpful to know. But in my years of working with numerology, I've found that the personal year cycles are often even more helpful to people. And in fact, when I used to teach a lot of in-person workshops, and I would have all the students on the floor kind of doing their 9-year reinvention cycles for their whole life, mapping them out, and then kind of sharing them with a partner. It was extraordinary to listen into that, because if they had been cynical about numerology before we got to the personal years, by the time we were doing the personal years and they were going, oh, look, that's when I had a divorce, or that's when I lost my job in that 9 year, they were going, oh my God, this really, what the personal years do for us is they prove to us in a way that this is a life plan that we designed for ourselves, and that it serves our highest good and our highest growth. And I always say the most important question to ask on earth is, why am I here? And when we look at numerology, and especially when we look at the 9-year cycles, what it takes away is any sense that we've really screwed it all up and we are unworthy, or tragedy has happened to us randomly. Because when you see your cycles of reinvention mapped out in the numbers, and if you have any questions, go to my soul path calculator to learn what personal year you're in. And that's on my website, SueFrederick.com. But the minute you go and really map out your personal year cycles, and in my numerology workbook that you can buy on Amazon, in the back of it, it has all of those charts for you to pick your page that's your birth path number, and then go in and put a year of your life next to every personal year that you've experienced, and map it out that way in the workbook. It's so profoundly awakening. And then you can say, isn't it interesting? I have a pattern that every time I hit, for example, a 6 personal year in my life, I end up being a caregiver for somebody I love, or losing someone I love. But also, I often fall in love in a 6 year. And so you begin to really go, oh, so the 6 really is about home and heart and health and love and all of those beautiful things, the energy of the 6. And then as you get older and you really have tracked it all, it helps you be a profound counselor for your family, for your husband, your wife, your children, your sister, your brother. And I know with my children, even as they've been cynical about numbers, because I'm their mom. The question they will come to me with, even my son Kai will say, what kind of personal year am I in right now? He'll just like, all right, I need to know this, and then we'll talk about it, and then he's good. He's gone. He doesn't need to talk about numbers anymore. But that shows you how personal years really help us be our best self. So when we hit the one personal year, and you can put in the chat or raise your hand if you're in a one personal year right now we're still in 2024. So we can talk about where you are right now. But in 2024, if you're in a one personal year, it's a time to plant seeds for your new cycle. And it's not too late. December isn't over. So maybe start that class you wanted to start if you're in a 1 year, or, go out and begin to start that business you were wanting to do. All of those beginnings are so important to make happen in a 1 year. It's like planting the seeds in the garden. And and that's a really good question I have to stop for. The question is, do the personal year cycles start in January, or do they start on your birthday? This is something I argue with numerologists about, because there are some numerologists who insist that the personal year number starts on your date of birth. But it starts in January because that's when the calendar year changes. The vibration of the calendar year changes every January. We know that, we feel that, and that affects the personal year we're in, because that's how you add it up. And so you can think of it as a wave of change that comes in January, but you're already feeling it in December and November. So it's a wave. And when that new year starts, you're off and running in that new personal year. And then when your birthday comes, what I've noticed is you get an accelerated energy of whatever that personal year is that you're in. So my birthday is September, and I've been in a 5 personal year this year. And so in my September of this year, I had so many 5 energy things happening in my life really strongly. And that's the year that I'm in. And now that 5 month, the September is over, I'm even beginning to feel that 6 energy of the new personal year for me coming in. So that's how I see it. Now, continuing with the one personal year, you may also feel alone in your one personal year, like nobody is helping you. You might feel unsupported, and that's a very natural thing to feel. But the good news is, when the 2 begins, the next year in your personal year cycle, you feel people sort of coming to your side from nowhere. Maybe you're suddenly making new friends. Maybe you start a new relationship. Maybe you start a job where you have people you work with that you really like. But the 2 also can be an 11/2 personal year. And that would mean that you feel incredibly connected to the divine that year, as well as connecting to humans very well that year, and also very sensitive. 2 year and an 11/2 year can be years where you really kind of feel, ouch, ouch, I'm feeling so many feelings this year, and I'm feeling what other people are feeling. And then we move into the 3 personal year. The 3 is a totally different energy. Suddenly it's all in your head, and you're sparked by ideas, and you're excited about being in social situations and just being playful and having fun, and not especially thinking deeply about things or feeling deeply about things. But you use that energy of the 3 to create, to connect, to make community happen, to be an artist, because 3 is a very creative energy. And then the 4 comes in, and the 4, we say, I've got to be strong. I have to build my strength, my inner strength, my outer strength. We might get back in shape in a 4 year because we feel that call to become strong physically, but we also have a call to be strong in our inner self. And then when you have a 22/4 personal year, then you're really called to shift up to your higher work, your greatest work in this lifetime. And then the 5 energy comes in. And the 5 is a very tricky personal year, because 5 is about physicality and passion and the body and living wide open through the physical senses. It can also mean having physical health challenges because your body is your vehicle of learning. When you're on the 5 life path, your body is your vehicle of learning all the way through. When you're in a 5 personal year, and guess what? Yes, I have been in a 5 personal year in 2024. And it has been the year of unending health bumps in the road. But have I learned what I'm supposed to be learning? I'm trying very hard to learn it and to really understand what all these lessons are from the body that are coming to me in this 5 personal year. However, in other 5 personal years, I've had the great pleasure of travel and adventure and change, which are also very good 5 vibrations. My last 5 personal year, I went on like 6 wonderful trips, and traveled and had so much fun. And I was thinking, oh, this 5 personal year, I'll get to do those things again. But this time it's been traveled to the divine realms. So whatever happens, it's going to be driven by the 5 energy of change, expansion, courage, and growth. And then we move into the 6. And the 6, like I was saying before, is heart and healing and home and community. It can mean that you are caring for someone you love, or again, taking care of your own health. But it's often about other people. And it's often about love, falling in love if you're single, a 6 personal year. When I went back and tracked all my years, every time I started a significant love relationship, I was in a 6 personal year. So it's love, it's heart, and it's really kind of a focus on others. You might have a baby in a 6 year. You might have to take care of your dying mother in a 6 year. These are the kinds of things that come up in the 6. And then in the 7, we move into the 7 personal year. And the 7 vibration is so turned inward, reflecting on deeper spiritual meaning of life, meditation, prayer, writing, studying. It's a very turned inward energy and a turned inward year. And I love a 7 year personally because I like that. But if you are not comfortable with that kind of thing, the 7 year will drive you crazy because you'll feel like, all this self-reflection, I'm over it. And then the 8 year comes along, and the 8 beautifully pulls us back out into the outer world because the 8 is about owning our power. So whether we're having to go get a different job, deal with our money issues, or stand up in our career and our work and own our power, or in our relationships and do that, it's a very outward energy. And if you know 8 path souls who are on the 8 path their whole life, they are definitely outward presences in the world. And that's how we all feel when we hit that 8 year. And there's no escaping your bank account in an 8 year. It will be on your mind and you'll have to deal with it. You either get wealthy or have to get a loan, or you start a business that makes a lot of money. But 8 is definitely a year when money is on the table. And then we come to the 9. The 9 personal year, and pay attention because in January, we start a 9 universal year. The 9 personal year is the great vacuum cleaner of life. Whatever dust and dirt you have got gathered on the floor that is cluttering up your life, it's going to be sucked up in the vacuum cleaner of the 9 so that you're left standing in a pristine environment with only you and your higher self there, ready for the next and the new stage of your beautiful soul's life. So the 9 does us a favor by cleaning out what no longer serves us, but that can be scary. But don't forget, another piece of the 9 is because we're sort of stripped of our usual defenses and distractions, suddenly we see the bigger picture of the bigger meaning of life. And then we are willing to think about others and be much more humanitarian in our approach. The ultimate nine calls us to care about each other. You don't get through a nine energy by only thinking of yourself. So it is the ultimate call to action of surrender what doesn't serve you, open your heart for the greater good, and take action for the greater good. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So we can't hate on the nine. Yes, it's going to make us change a lot of stuff. But at the end, then we start a new cycle in the one, and it's better and bigger and more aware and more enlightened than ever before. Every cycle is a plateau up. Okay, now I will be quiet, and I would like for you all to ask questions or share insights, and you have to unmute yourself. And also, we do need to talk about the universal year as well. So, who has a question before we get to that? Or a comment or an insight? Yes,
I,
Lydia.
I have a comment and a question. So I was in a 4 year this year, very restricted. But I really felt the road open into that five energy in September. And my birthday's October. So I felt it. Yeah, I mean, literally I could feel life opening up.
Yeah.
And then 5 years next year. So that's my comment. My question is, how does a nine universal year affect a nine life path? Is
Yeah,
there,
that's a really good question. So every time we're in a personal year or a universal year, that reflects the same number, the same vibration as our life mission soul number. So for example, I'm on the 22-4 birth path. And when I'm in a 22-4 personal year, things happen with my work. That's when my last book came out. That's when, actually, that's when Alison Dubois reached out to me and said, "Would you be on my podcast?" Like big things happen with my work. And then when I'm in a 22-4 universal year, I also feel pulled out in the world, paying attention to changing my work in some way. So it magnifies the energy of your whole life plan, whether you're in the personal year that reflects it or the universal year. So all of those nine path souls who are going to be moving with all of us into the nine universal year of 2025, they are better equipped to deal with it because they've been on that energy their whole lifetime, but it will also intensify it for them. So that could mean greater humanitarian achievements, a greater understanding of what we're called to do as a collective, greater understanding of what to get rid of in their life. All of that will be magnified. Does that answer your questions?
it does. And can I add one element to that?
Mhm.
Life path, nine universal year, eight personal year.
Wait, say I
Yep.
didn't hear all of it.
Nine life path,
Mhm.
nine universal year, eight personal year.
That's you said?
It's not me, but it's somebody close to me.
Oh, somebody close to you. Okay. And what is your question about it?
And how does I would think, does the eight empower? Um, does the eight personal year for a nine life path and a nine universal year?
I think you're overthinking it. The way I would just say if this is a nine life path soul and they're going into the nine universal year, they're going to thrive in that energy. And then if there's a little eight vibration to it, it will definitely also be affecting their career and their money.
Okay, perfect.
These are good, you guys. Anything else before we talk about universal years? All right. Well, you guys have control of the mute button, so go ahead at any moment and ask a question if you want. But the reason I want to talk about these universal years is that as we start this 9 year of 2025, and I've talked about the energy of it a lot, that it's the two, and then there is a 22 in this number, and the five is the final digit, and the five is a number of great change. So 2025 5 is definitely a year where we see big change, where we're called to humanitarian consciousness, collective consciousness, and where the way of the old falls because the 22 always says, and it's a shift to a higher ideal, a higher idea. Now, we don't need to get down into the dirt of what that means politically and in detail. But what I'll say about it is I went back and outlined all these previous 9 universal years because as I looked at them, I realized, oh, there's always a big change in the world when these 9 universal years hit. We're not exaggerating this, and history plays it out. So if we go back to 2016, that was our last 9 year. That was the year that Donald Trump came on the scene as a candidate for president and changed the entire conversation. And also Bernie Sanders, you remember that, changed the entire conversation of politics forever. And then Donald Trump was elected in November of 2016. So when you look at that 9 year, we were letting go collectively of an old way of being and of navigating politics, of navigating discrimination, all kinds of things. And a whole new cycle began in 2017. Now we're at the end of that one, and you can see how radical that growth and change has been since 2017. And we're coming up on the end of that. So the new one that starts will be, we can't even imagine it really. But then if we go back beyond 2016, the last 9 universal year before that was the great mortgage crash of 2007, 2008. I was working my I See Your Dream Job book back then, my career book. And that's why I got written about in the New York Times, because in 2007, 2008, so many people lost their jobs, they lost their mortgages, they lost their everything financially. And that was a 9 universal year. And then we go back behind that one. 1998 affected me big time because that was the dot-com crash. Now, many of you don't even know what that means because you're young. But in 1998, the dot-com world had emerged in 1989, by the way, another 9 year universal year. 1989, the World Wide Web was introduced. And in 1998, I was working as a health writer for one of these dot coms, and I was paid six-figure income, all these stock shares. And within 1 year, the year of 1998, they all crashed. All the investors pulled out, decided that it wasn't where they were going to put their money. And really, the dot com crash destroyed millions of people's careers and investors and everything. That was 1998. But on the good side of that, now we do have internet, but it's just kind of a very different game than it was back then. 1989, again, going back to that 9 universal year, that was the year when somebody sat at my desk with me. I was a magazine editor of a print magazine. And he sat at my desk. He was my publisher, and he said, Sue, let me pull this up. I'm going to show you something. It's called the World Wide Web. 1989, a 9 universal year. First time we had ever seen websites and all of this stuff. Mind-blowing change for the world. Another 9 year. So I can go back and back, but I'm not going to bore you. I'm just telling you that's what this 9 universal energy is. And yes, it's all for good in the long run because we would not be who we are if we hadn't gone through these changes, and the world would not be, for better or worse, where it is with consciousness if the world hadn't gone through all these changes. So, insights, questions, conversations.
I have a question for you, Sue.
Hi, Annette. Yes.
Hello. So lovely to be here. Um, I have two women in my life. One is my lovely sister, and one is my lovely stepdaughter, and both are 27 nines.
Uh-huh.
And with both, I have a very similar, they happen also in Chinese and both horses, but there's a lot of similarities with them. So I have with both of them similar approaches. For some reason, when they challenge everything and anything, of course, and we have a very creative relationships, which 27 9 plus 3, which I'm th a 3,
Mhm.
it turns into 12, yeah, and it's a
Mhm.
3 again.
Right. Creative, sparky,
Yeah, so it's great. We have like
fun.
lots of ideas, but it's
Yes.
also when we stay in that realm, it is very superficial, and nobody is really coming out of their, I would say, almost like hiding. And if I can't really talk to them more on a deeper level, it feels like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, let me talk about that. Whenever we have a three soul agreement with anyone, it means that the work we have to do is getting from head to heart.
yeah.
But the good news is, Annette, you're
Mm-hmm.
going into a nine universal year. If there's one thing the nine
Yeah,
does,
seven,
gets
seven.
us out
Oh,
of the
yeah, oh,
head.
Janet, yeah,
It gets us out of the head and opens our heart. It does. You
yeah.
can think of nine being represented by surrender and even grief. You know, when we have to let go of something that we've cherished or someone we've cherished, it is the greatest heart opening moment. And the nine universal year really calls all of us to get out of our heads, our little political ideas, our economical ideas about money and politics and all this stuff, and get into our hearts. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. It just means it's going to open our hearts to each other, all of us. And I personally think that's a really good thing. I think we don't get anywhere here unless we open our hearts to each other. And when things are easy, la la, pretty and safe, we just cruise, you know? And when suddenly things are hard or scary or we're having to change, now our hearts are open. That's the most important part of being here on earth is opening our hearts to each other.
Yes. And so much I do like it when we have that time
Right.
and it feels like my sister, who I have all this conflict with because of the inheritance, number one, but also my daughter, stepdaughter, she's like, so yeah, yeah, and whatever, So when I'm like, oh, and I'm like, can I would really like to know how you are, not like how you kind of. She talks to me on such a superficial level in some ways.
Well, Annette, you know this because you're a very wise soul, but the way we get others to open their hearts is we simply have to pay attention to us opening our hearts. And the more
Mhm.
we can bare our hearts to someone else, tell them how we feel, even our pain, then that helps other people to open up with us.
Yeah, I think. I think sometimes she's not ready for any of my opening heart. She says, "Okay, let's talk next week." But
Yeah,
anyway, it's just like it's interesting how the numbers us working so similar
right.
with the
Uh,
two closest ladies, which I both raised or co-raised.
Right, right.
So it's like kind of this intensity, and both of them are at the same number and very,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
I also want to talk about the holidays coming up because I think this is all part of our struggle on planet Earth is how do we navigate Christmas, especially if we have ever been grief-stricken. I know there's moms on here who their children are in spirit. I know there's also widows and people on here who've lost their partners. And of course, we know the partner is there with you in spirit, but the holidays create a very challenging time of navigating that. Um, I'm blessed to be in a community of people who all understand and appreciate that. And they talk about things like the holidays in a very different way than the traditional world does. But you can't avoid it. You're going to end up somehow on social media and be seeing people with their family photos and everyone looking so perfect and together and their Christmas trees, and it's going to trigger us about our losses or our pain or our feelings of self-worth or whatever that trigger is. And so one of the things I was asking Spirit about a lot in the last week was, what do I say to these, especially even myself? I struggle with holidays too for my own different reasons. How do we navigate it differently? Well, in the past, what I've always said is, go to your sacred place, do your meditation, do your writing, do your artwork, or whatever that sacred act is that gets you into the higher perspective of it. But I also know that today, the world is in such conflict and flux that the vibration is very challenging to work with. And that even if you go and meditate and call in the angels to help you and call in spirit to be with you, it can be a very painful time in these holidays. So the answer that came to me in the midst of really asking spirit, what is this about? It was about opening our hearts in a raw and pure way to any single and every single person we interact with. And I mean, whether that's your spouse watching a football game on the couch, or whether it's you going out to dinner and talking to the server, or going to the grocery store and interacting with someone, to come at it from a deeper, more heartfelt way and watch that energy come right back to you. It becomes like your nourishment that the world then starts to give you. And that's a tall ask, like Lydia is saying. Yes, it is. But these are difficult times and difficult, challenging. I was with some people telling me over Thanksgiving how hard Thanksgiving was for them. And ironically, it really was for me as well, because I was sick again. Sad story. My body is like going, oh, you think it's a normal Thanksgiving? Okay, we'll give you a little physical problem so you can see it through a different lens. Um, so what that began to teach me was that rather than being in my negative state, angry about it or upset that I couldn't even enjoy a good meal, that sort of stuff that we go into with the pitiful self, that instead connecting with more people, not isolating, but connecting with more people and just being vulnerable and saying, I'm really struggling, and here's why. Because the minute we say those magic words, the other person opens their heart and comes to us and connects with us. And the great, strange thing that happened to me is that it even happened with my family of origin, that they were saying, Sue, what do you, because we have a family text, I've mentioned it before. So, my brothers and sister were all sharing photos of their Thanksgiving meals that were so elaborate and beautiful. And they were like, Sue, what are you making? And a part of me, my pitiful self, wanted to say mashed potatoes and just be upset. And then I wrote a heartfelt text and said, I'm struggling, you guys. I'm really happy that you all are having a wonderful feast, but our kids couldn't make it for Thanksgiving. We're alone. I'm sick, and mashed potatoes is all I can eat. And I was amazed because my family of origin is not warm and fuzzy, and they were very kind. And it really helped me. And so I just offer that to all of us, that these Christmas holidays may be hard for everyone for different reasons, but open your heart, share your vulnerability, and let that love come back to you. I think that's how we navigate this time. And that may be the way we navigate the entire 9 universal year of 2025. Any questions, or do you guys want to go on a meditation?
Meditation, I guess. I was gonna say, I've spent so many holidays alone. And the reason that I wound up speaking with Allison is because I actually flew to Chicago for Thanksgiving to be with a friend. She has stage 4 cancer. I've known her since childhood. Her dad was there. He has Parkinson's, but they're a lovely family, and it felt like family to me. And I had left a question for Allison for her podcast in May about my father when I was really going through a hard time,
Yeah.
and she played it on Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't, thank God, I didn't hear that episode until the week after Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Because, and she said, I don't even know how that happened, but
Wow. Well, we
that,
know how that happened.
I
The
know, we know how
spirit.
that happened,
Yes.
but anyway, so, I don't know, I'm just grateful this year because I am at peace
Yeah.
for the first time in a long time. I'm still with myself mostly, but I've done so much work this year too, with all of you and with one or two other groups. And I just, I'm at a place of peace right now.
And Lydia, I really cherish that about you. You're such a sincere soul, and you're always trying so hard to learn and grow and move through your challenging times. And that is something I cherish in people. And it's been beautiful to be a witness to that and to also have you share all of your struggles and your insights with all of these classes, especially the angelic ministry classes. Your stories really helped and inspired people in those classes. So you're beautifully, beautifully doing this and being vulnerable. And even in the classes, when you're vulnerable, you instantly get so much love and support back, don't you?
Absolutely. And it's been an honor and a privilege. So
Yeah.
thank you all so
Thank
much.
you, sweetheart. I would have been happy to teach all through Thanksgiving, actually, because this is such a warm and fuzzy place to be. And sometimes real life is not so warm and fuzzy. So I'm very grateful to be here with all of you, definitely. And our kids are not coming for Christmas either. So I'm just praying I'm not going to be in the emergency room again between now and Christmas. That's my goal. So I feel like if at least I can hit that goal, I'll be good. All right. I think we should do a little meditation unless there's anybody else wants to share anything. I've got some very wise people on here and you're all being quiet, but if you have any insights or questions, now is your time because I know some of you have studied these numbers for a long time and you're incredibly advanced souls. But okay, it's a Sunday night, so we're just going to do a little meditation. I'm going to make sure everyone is muted, and then I'm going to put some music on for our meditation. I have to turn this off. Okay, music. All righty. Okay. All right, everybody. In this moment, we close our eyes. We take 3 deep breaths. And our hearts opened from the joy of connection in this group and the realization that these kinds of vulnerable connections with people are going to be our healing nectar all through the holidays coming up and all through the 9 energy of the 2025 year beginning, that we will always remember to open our hearts and share our vulnerability as the deepest way of connection. And so in this moment, the spirits standing around us are pleased with us. Our departed loved ones are here now, surrounding you, surrounding all of us, smiling at us. The angelic realm is here, your guardian angels. The angels who have always loved you and nurtured you are here in this circle. And your primary spirit guide is here now, next to you. With your eyes closed, feel their loving presence. You can look around the circle one by one, your departed loved ones smiling at you and going, I'm proud of you. The angelic realm saying, we are here for you always. Feel our love. And your spirit guides saying, this is all part of the plan and you're doing beautifully. Feel that support. Let it now lift us out of the earth realm, picking us up on the wings of angels to rise up out of the heavy, dense energy of the earth realm, out of our galaxies, higher up into the divine realms of God consciousness, where we all go between lifetimes to process, learn, help each other, be with our loved ones there, expand ourselves, heal. It's like coming home as we walk through this portal into the divine realms. Instantly, you feel the light shift. It's now more vivid. The light carries a frequency of unconditional love. It's pouring over you now, easing all of your thoughts, your worries, your ailments, your tension, all healed and restored with this beautiful love energy of the higher realms. The home that we came from, the home we return to, greater than all places of life, other galaxies, other planets, other worlds. Nothing is the high frequency of these divine realms. This is the source. This is your source. And now it fills you with a power of wisdom. The power of divine wisdom pours through you, washes through you, erasing the human parts that make us play small, that make us feel hurt or diminished. All of that is washed away by the divine wisdom permeating the essence of you. And as you look at your departed loved ones standing here, you see that they are radiating this divine wisdom. The smaller parts of themselves have washed away. They are their absolute best and highest self here, as you are. This is where we laugh at how intense the game of life has been. And you can right now walk up to a departed loved one or a guide or an angel, your choice, and put them arm in arm with you. And let's go for a lovely evening stroll in the divine realms. And we're smiling ear to ear because it's a moonlit walk and the light is shimmering. And as we look up, there are golden stars against a dark night sky. So beautiful. It feeds us. It replenishes our souls. And our loved ones, our guides, our angels are saying, this is where you come if you're struggling in the holidays. You come and go for this walk with us. As we're walking down this path over to the right, we see a beautiful owl hooting on a branch, calling out to us. We see the bubbling creek along the side of the walkway. All of it so comforting. And the million stars of light guiding our way. And everywhere we look, there's the presence of joy, of quiet, hushed conversations of other souls walking with their circle, their posse. Everyone feeling excited and happy and loved, pointing out the beauty of the sky. And now sitting at the top of an outcropping, a hill, in a circle of stones with your posse, building the fire in the center. So now you have this beautiful golden fire in the center of your circle, and the sparks lift up to the sky and add to the stars. And in this moment, you look around the fire at everyone's radiant face, and you know that you are so deeply loved. And this is your place of soothing comfort whenever you struggle on earth. You can come and take your break here at this campfire in the beautiful starry night of the deep blue sky, surrounded by your loved ones, laughing, making jokes with each other, talking about memories you've shared with each other in many lifetimes. Laughing and saying, yeah, do you remember when we were Native Americans and we lived out under the stars every night together? Or do you remember when we lived in another galaxy and it had a sky just like this, day and night? Or do you remember when we traveled a long trip together and we arrived at our destination at nighttime, when the stars were like big bright fires in the sky, and we felt so happy to be at our destination together, knowing that tomorrow was going to be a wonderful day. That's how we feel now. Tomorrow is going to be a wonderful day. And your loved one is sitting next to you now going, yep, tomorrow is going to be awesome. And you can trust them. They're always right. And so now you memorize every light, every moment, every twinkle of this setting, because this is where you will come. Anytime you feel afraid or alone or anxious in the next few weeks, you will come back here where you feel warm and cozy and loved, and you feel the awe of the beauty of your journey. You are a powerful divine being. You have traveled so many lifetimes and light years to be exactly where you are now. And that's exactly where you're supposed to be. And all is well in your soul. And you are deeply loved, and cherished. And that realization brings tears to your eyes. You need to hear that sometimes. And now you hear it. And you remember it. And it shakes away all the moments of hurt that come from the earth life. They just fall away now. And you stand up in this fire circle now, and you lift your head up and face the moon, and you let the moonlight wash over you, bathing you, healing you, and you feel reborn. And now, in this very moment, we are so confident in our soul's journey, so confident that we've arrived right where we were supposed to arrive. It's all been perfect. And with that sense of knowingness, we quickly and effortlessly drop back down through time and space into the earth body of your current life. But this time, with such a renewed sense of happiness to be here. Because now you are assured and reminded that all is well in your soul. Nothing to fear, nothing to grieve. All is well in your soul. And with that consciousness, we take a breath back into the body and gladly welcome our physical self back. Inhale. And again. And again. And as we come back into this human life now, you can open your eyes and know that you are so deeply and powerfully loved, and that all of our souls here have always loved each other, soul to soul, and always will, and all is well. Thank you all so much for tonight. I cherish these groups.
May I make, thank you for that meditation. May I make one comment on connection for this holiday? I belong to some other groups, and if anybody ever wants to connect in other outside channels, I'm not on Facebook, but I just am new on Instagram, with my new handle, which I'll put in the chat. But if anybody ever wants to reach out, anybody, if anybody needs a chat, and if Sue's not available, then we need to connect with each other. I just want to say happy holidays to everybody.
Yeah, the same to everybody here too. We can all connect on Facebook and Instagram, but also I have an angelic ministry Patreon group coming up.
I'll be there.
I think it's next week. Is it next week?
Yeah, it's on the
Okay, good.
15th, no?
Yeah, so
Sunday.
it's next Sunday, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Next Sunday.
early in the morning.
Yes, 9 a.m. MST. But think of it as our sacred service, Sunday morning, and we come together and connect with the angels. And I know that I've tried to create these two tiers here, one for the angelic group that included both. But for the month of December, for Christmas, even if you only belong to this numerology group, go ahead and join us at the angelic Patreon group on Sunday, because for the month of December, we all need to be connected as much as possible.
Mm.
I will see you all at that group. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much. Sue.
Many
Thank
blessings.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Love you,
Thank you.
Sue.
Bye,
Love
Thank
everybody.
you.
you.